The great Australian dream of home ownership has motivated many would-be buyers across the country to reconsider their life's priorities and look into their financial health amid recent global and local events from bushfires to the pandemic. While the home ownership journey has become an uphill battle for many due to rising house prices, research shows that Aussies still have high hopes of buying a home. Getting your foot in the property ladder is not a walk in the park. It involves a lot of planning and effort to get the best deal possible. Your home is more than likely the biggest investment most people will make in their life, so it's important you start things right. Here's a 9-step approach that you could possibly take to hopefully achieving this goal of home ownership and getting your first property. Remember to always do your own research as well and seek professional assistance when making such major decisions. Step 1. Determine your budget. The first and most important thing to do before even proceeding to buy a property is working out your own budget. This step involves a little introspection. You will need to take a long and hard look at yourself and your finances and determine what you are planning in the upcoming years ahead and how much you can afford to repay. This part of the process can take as little as a few months to a year. Given that you might need a little time to build up yourself a budget plan, you will need to consider how much you can afford each month to set aside for mortgage repayments. There are different methods of budgeting. You can consider trying the simplest one, which just involves knowing how much money is coming in and out of your pockets. The most important part of budgeting is having a clear picture of your income and expenses. Beginning with your total monthly income, ensure you compute with your after-tax income. You also need to note your other income streams such as investments and businesses, regular income from assets which you will own after you buy a home, and any other income. This is your total monthly income. The next step is to determine your monthly expenditures. If you are currently renting, you need to exclude your rent payments. This is in the assumption that you are purchasing a ready for occupancy house. Subtract your total monthly expenses from your total monthly income, and the number that you have is roughly what you can afford to repay each month on a loan. However, you also need to consider where your career is headed and whether any salary increases are likely. There are also family considerations. Are you or your spouse likely to need time off work to raise a child, which could deeply affect your income? Step 2. Know how much you can borrow. After determining how much you can set aside for monthly mortgage repayments, the next step is to work out how much you can borrow. This amount will differ from lender to lender, and many offer online calculators that will allow you to determine your borrowing limit. You can also reach out to mortgage brokers. They will inform you about how much the lenders on their panel will lend you based on your income, debts, assets, numbers of dependents, and whether you are buying the property alone or with someone else, preparing for the costs. You can also use a home loan calculator to get an estimate of your mortgage repayments. The resulting calculations are based on the financial amount requested, the length of the loan term, and the interest rate. However, the estimate is neither a quote nor a loan offer, and you will need to speak to a financial planner before applying for a home loan. However, you will also need to prepare for other costs associated with your loan. These costs include upfront fees and ongoing fees. There is also an exit fee you should terminate from your agreement with your lender and refinance with another. The biggest upfront cost that you will need to prepare for is the deposit. Typically, you'll be required to have a deposit of 20% of the property's value. You might be able to borrow with as little as 5% deposit, but as your lender will require you to pay for lender mortgage insurance, which is the top of any upfront costs on your loan. You will also need to pay for stamp duty on the property, which will cost several thousands of dollars depending on which state you live in. Step 3. When looking for a good deal on a home loan or mortgage, the interest rate matters. A home loan is a long-term debt, so even a small difference in interest adds up over time. Compare the home loan rates. Contact at least 2 different lenders to get a loan options personalized for your situation. A rate even 0.5% lower could save you thousands of dollars over time. Get help if you need it. With many lenders to choose from, you may decide to get a mortgage broker to find a loan option for you. And also get pre-approval to buy. Consider getting loan pre-approval from a lender. They'll ask you for evidence of your current financial situation and to assess your ability to repay the loan. Pre-approval lasts for 3 to 6 months and shows you're eligible to apply for a loan up to a certain amount. It doesn't commit you to a loan. It lets you set an affordable price range and tell sellers you're serious about buying. Step 4, one of the fun parts, finding a house to buy. Find a balance between the lifestyle you want and what you can comfortably afford. Know why you're buying as well. Reflect on what you want to buy. Are you planning to grow your family? Do you want to renovate? If you're buying with a partner, talk to them about this. Be clear about what you're going to buy. It will really help you narrow down your property search. Consider your must-haves and your nice-to-haves as well. Make a list of your must-haves, the things you kind of can't do without, such as property size, layout, public transport, schools, and then your nice-to-haves, things that you can do without for now, such as design, fittings, outdoor space. Focusing on your must-haves will help you prioritize the things that matter the most. And most importantly also, stick to your price range. If you have it pre-approved for $500,000, don't waste time looking for properties advertised at $600,000 if your ideal suburb is outside your price range. But keep an open mind about where to look. And do your research. Look online, talk to real estate agents, go to property inspections and explore what's on offer. And pace yourself, the search could take months. Step 5. Conduct a home inspection. Once you find the right home, it's time to do the sometimes literal dirty work. Conducting a building inspection is one of the most crucial steps in buying a home and the most overlooked. If you want to end up with a home that is worth the money and effort you spent, you have to make sure that you are doing this step properly. Homeowners are suggested to arrange for both building and pest inspection, especially when purchasing an established home. This will add to the costs that you'll have to prepare during the planning stage. These inspections are likely to cost anywhere between $200 and $600 each. But don't freak at the costs. It is vital that you find out about any hidden nasties like damp, shifting foundations, faulty wiring and plumbing. Then you can factor in the cost of repairs to the purchasing price or decide to drop the deal altogether. Step 6. Make an offer. If you are still satisfied with the property after the inspections, it's time to make your next move. Whilst it is important to be cautious in approaching price negotiations, don't be too inflexible. After all, you want this property. But make sure you understand what you are getting yourself into and do your own research to ensure you are comfortable with the decision. Private sale offers. The most common way to buy property is by private, treaty, or sales through a real estate agent or directly from the owner. If a property isn't going to auction, you are saved from the stress of an auction day. But then you are faced with the daunting question of how much should you offer. If a home price tag says $250,000, this may not be how much the vendor really wants. Many agents say it's usually wise to make a lower offer within 5% of the asking price, although this percentage can increase in a slow market. The most common tactic is a verbal offer to the seller's real estate agent. Alternatively, a sales summary can be prepared by your solicitor and forwarded to the vendor. A sales summary contains the date of the offer, the address of the property, the offered purchase price, the deposit amount, and the balance to be paid. Details of your finances, any special conditions, and the proposed settlement due date. Once your private treaty offer is accepted, and you've accepted the sales contract, it's time to pay the deposit. This is typically given to the real estate agent who holds it on behalf of the vendor in a special trust fund until the sale is finalized. Don't forget to negotiate. There are several things you can do to bring to the table to make an offer that is below the asking price. A buyer's agent can help you get the best deal for your target property. If you are bidding at an auction, if the home you crave is being sold via an auction, it is critical that you have a pre-approval finance. You also need enough of a deposit or a deposit bond. While private treaty sales allow a cooling off period in which the buyer can conduct inspections, auctions don't usually allow for this cooling off period. Your bid is blind, so make sure if you really want the property before you raise your hand. Most important of all is to not exceed your maximum spending limit. Inspections on homes up for auction need to be done prior to the bidding stage. Get a copy of the conditions of the sale and the vendor's statement well in advance of the auction, and have your legal representatives check the terms and conditions. There are usually two types of auctions: on-site auctions and in-room auctions. To bid at either, you must express interest to the auctioneer before the auction begins, or simply raise your arm and call a bid, or use any other type of gesture or signal to the auctioneer. The name of what you give the auctioneer before the auction is the name of which it will go down on the contract, and it cannot be changed later. Most properties for sale by auction have a reserve price, which is the minimum price the owners are prepared to accept for the property. The reserve price is not made public until the bidder exceeds it. Once the reserve is reached, the property will generally be sold to the highest bidder. Step 7. Do the legal work. Once you have found the property and you have the contract, it's important that you check the contract carefully to ensure that everything about the property is understood and that there will be no legal surprises after you've purchased it. Signing a contract without a lawyer looking at it for the first time is a madness. If you want to make any changes to the contract, now is the time to do it. Step 8. Check for government grants. Now that you've gone through several steps, you can now take a deep breath and relax. The pace slows down a little as you wait for your legal team to do the work. For the next 6 weeks, sometimes less and sometimes more, your conveyancer or lawyer will make inquiries about the property. Survey and drainage diagrams will be examined, government departments will be written to, heritage orders will be inspected, and council checks will be performed. In other words, the work is usually out of your hands. A kind vendor may grant you an additional time if you are having difficulty meeting the agreed deadline, but don't count on it. The chances are that the property is also costing them money through their mortgage repayments or lost interest, and they are under no obligation to give you more time. This is the time when buyers and vendors usually get an attack of the jitters. Buyers keep their fingers crossed that everything about the property will be fine and run according to the schedule, and the vendor is praying that the sale goes ahead and they can get their hands on the cash. During this time, you can also check for government grants. That can take some of the buying costs off your back. These grants can potentially save you thousands of dollars, which you can set aside for other purposes, such as home improvements or investments. There is a lot of grants and schemes available in each state and territory. You just need to ensure that you've met the requirements and submit the relevant documents. Step 9. Wait for the settlement. Settlement day is the day which your representatives meet the vendor to swap your check with the title of ownership. Cherish this moment, because most people, this certificate will quickly go to your lender, unless you are lucky enough to purchase the property outright. Government departments need to be notified of the change in ownership, and this is typically taken care of by your solicitor or conveyancer. You should have the building insured at the time of the settlement, otherwise some lenders won't lend you your money. To remove any ambiguity, a safety course of action is to insure the property as soon as the exchanging of contracts. Also, enjoy the feeling. Congratulations, you are now a proud homeowner of your new home and you have officially broken into the housing market. Buying the first home is a major achievement and involves a lot of time and effort. Comparing home loans, going to inspections, getting loan approval, and doing all the legal work. Mistakes will be made and lessons will be learnt during the process. But what is next for you? Maybe even after, you could start planning for your first investment property. Hopefully this video helped provide some insight into an approach you could take when looking to get your foot in the door of the housing market in Australia. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you own any property, I would love to hear about your experiences of getting started.